I got a phone call from Ralph Macchio, who was one of the editors up at Marvel, and he just said, hey, listen, Stan needs somebody to do the Sundays. It was an old-timer artist, very good artist, named Fred Keita, who had been doing the Sundays, supposedly as a fill-in artist for what was supposed to be maybe a month or two, ended up being 2 years, and Fred run it. Fred was, I guess, maybe 70-ish or something, and he just wanted to get out. He didn't want to do it anymore. So they asked me if I'd be interested. I had to send some samples over to Stan's office. And I figured, hey, one more page a week. I had gotten out of my contract at Marvel just maybe 6 months earlier, because the book I was working on at the time, Spider-Man Adventures, which was based on the animated comic book, the cartoon series, I should say, got canceled, and there was no other work for me around. So actually I left Marvel, and I got basically enticed to come over to Topps Comics, where I started drawing the X-Files for about a year and a half.
Which was a really good comic, by the way, when I was following that one.
Oh, well, that one, just to digress a little bit, the X-Files, they stopped doing the X-Files when the movie came out, and it just seemed that every script that came into the office, all the artwork that I had drawn, always had to get sent out to California for their approvals. They had likeness approvals. I would have photographs that I was using for Mulder and Scully, and we'd get back notes. Scully's top line on her eye looks like she's wearing a little too much eyeliner. See if you can reduce the top line. Really? That kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, they have like a lot of image control issues with properties like that. Was that something you experienced a lot of Marvel, or maybe it's the other way around because you don't craft?
Well, I never experienced anything like that at Marvel. Actually, one of my first gigs at Marvel when I got there was drawing Chuck Norris and the Karate Commandos. Okay, which was, hey, I left DC and I'm looking for work, so they passed this one story on to me, and they gave me 3 photographs of Chuck Norris to work from. Now, mind you, Steve Ditko before me, whose work I had really admired over the years, basically just, gave him blonde hair and a blonde mustache, and it didn't look anything at all like Chuck Norris. But they weren't busting his horns or anything like that to make it look like Chuck. But I just took it upon myself, hey, I got some photographs, I want it to look like Chuck. So when I got to, when I did that, they were really happy with it. And then of course, let's see, we did one that got published. We worked on a second one, which was, I thought, 10 times better than the first one, and I never saw print. So it's just sitting in my studio, and as in my files as a 22-page Xerox story and archive, more or less. But and it got canceled. So I was just bouncing around in the first year that I was in Marvel, from '86 to '87. Excuse me, doing covers. I think the first thing I did for Marvel in '86 was Iron Man number 211, where he fought the living laser. And then after that, I did a couple of New Universe books that Jim Shooter was running, filled in on a few books there. And then I got I got the Chuck Norris thing, and then I also got to do the Defenders of the Earth, which was based on a cartoon series featuring the Phantom, Flash Gordon, and Mandrake the Magician. And I think recently, in the last couple of years, Dynamite Entertainment has published a comic book featuring those particular characters as well. I guess they have a subculture that still enjoys that stuff. But at any rate, after that, all of a sudden, I was working with Howard Mackey on writing as a writer and also as an editor, and he was good friends with Jim Salicrup, the editor of Spider-Man, and they needed somebody to fill in on Amazing Spider-Man number 292, which the distinction on that book was, in the last page, after Peter had proposed to Mary Jane, in the final panel, she says yes. So I got to draw this particular story, and then I handed it in. They liked it. They asked me if I want to do another fill-in, and it was a 2-part story. So I said, sure. And then after I did that, they said, hey, we got another fill-in for you. I said, really? What? Web of Spider-Man, 2-part issue. Great. So I always know as a freelancer I'm getting, two jobs at a time. And then after I turned that in, they gave me another fill-in. I think I started with 35 and 36. The guy who was the regular guy was still finishing up 34, and then this way he can get a head start on 37, so that when I came back and turned in 36, they said, how would you like to do another one? I said, why not? They gave me 39. I said, okay. So I'm assuming that the other guy finished 37, he's doing 38. So
Good.
after I did number 39, I brought it in, they said, we have another issue for you. I said, what, 40? No, 38. I said, what happened to the other guy? Well, we fired him because he's too slow. So basically at that point, I got the regular gig, and I did that for about almost 7 years or 7.5 years.